Did I just run a scale there? No. And here is something that is going to bother you a little. Film composers have known how to do this for decades. Classical composers knew it. Charlie Parker knew it, and Wes Montgomery knew it. But sit in a jazz guitar lesson, and nobody talks about it this way. Nobody says, look at what film composer the Morricone did the inside of the tune. He already built into this melody the something. Look at where every note lands. This is your solo blueprint. They hand you a scale, they hand you a chord chart, and they send you home. So here's what I am going to show you today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which note to target on every chord change in these 4 bars, the first 4 bars of this tune, the love theme from Cinema Paradiso. You will understand why that target has been the right answer, and you will have a simple 3-step practice method you can use tonight. No scales, no modes, just the notes that was always there. My name is Junewon Choi. I am a jazz guitarist and educator. I teach the apprenticeship I was trained in the way this music was actually passed down, not from a textbook. And I will be honest with you, I love history. I love finding the thread that connects things across time, classical to the jazz, film composers to improvisers, 1 century to the next. Because when you understand where something came from, it stops feeling like a theory. It starts feeling like a story you are already part of. And today, Cinema Paradiso is going to tell us one of those stories. Let me tell you something about Morricone that most people miss. He was not a jazz musician, of course. He was trained in the full classical tradition, orchestral writing, voice leading, counterpoint, everything by the book. He wrote for films, for strings, and brass and choir. He lived in a completely different world from the jazz guitar, but he composes for the film like Godfather, Love Affair, many, The Mission. He wrote the masterpieces. And yet, when you look at this love theme from Cinema Paradiso, the harmonic structure is almost identical to what jazz musicians obsesses over. The bass moves in fifth. The melodic landing points are all third. How is that possible? Here is the history. The circle fifth motion, the bass motion, it became dominated in 7th chord because the inner movement in that 7th chord with the circle fifth motion, the inner motion is very subtle. One note stays to the next and the only one note is moving, and then when it moves, it targets the third of the next chord. That is why the circle fifth motion in 7th chord is really, really important to know. But in triad, because only have 3 notes, it can make variety of the voice leading. Just one note moving up or down in diatonic chords, it gives you the either cycle of 3 or the 6th. One note stay and 2 notes is moving up or down, it gives you the cycle of 4th or the 5th. So they know all these cycles. But the targeting the third in the melody. I think that is the Morricone ingeniously mixed those two traditions beautifully. So why does not your jazz guitar teacher tell you this? Because most jazz education starts from the scales, chord symbols, 2-5-1 patterns, and that is working backward. Nobody starts from the music inside. Nobody shows you that the composers of this melody already wrote your solo for you. That is the secret. Let's get into it. So this song is in B flat major, but it does not start on the 1 chord. It starts on the 6 minor, G minor chord. Then the C minor, F7, B flat, B flat. That is a 6-2-5-1 circle of fifth motion. Now look at the melody on each of those chords. Right? So the bass motion is and the melody targets the third. Every single downbeat, the melody lands on the third of the chord. The G minor's third, C minor's third, F7's third, B flat's third. This is not a coincidence. This is the architecture of the song. And Morricone built this with a triads only, not seventh chord. G minor triad, C minor triad. But in the melody, it implies the C minor 7. I will show you later. The melody completes the triad. The bass works in fifth. And the third is the target every single time. Look what happens between C minor and F7. There is a half step motion in the voice leading. The third of C minor moving towards the third of F. That is the guide tone voice leading without a single seventh chord. Let me show you. So from the first chord to the second chord, it already have that half step motion. But look at this. G minor, if we have G minor 7, the voice leading point would be, this is fine, but what he did with the triad, the D goes to the next melody, the half step. That is what I was playing. G minor triad. Start with the third. Right? And then what did I play over here? What is it? This is tonally. Because F7 over here, the third. Yeah, this is a tonally, but I go by like. Right? So, first chord to the second chord, half step, right? And then in the melody, it implies the seventh, the C minor 7, because the melody goes right? So it just not stay on the F7, it moves around it. But it really exaggerate the target, the third. gives us 4 chords, even makes it the third. We want to hear the third with these 4. It doesn't sound like we resolved it. So it makes us to hear the third more. Right? The triad already knows where to go. Jazz just made it louder. Here's why this matters practically. When you play alone, no rhythm section, no comping, maintaining the time feel is one of the hardest things. Why? Because you are not grounding the sound. You are floating. But if you target the third on beat 1 of every chord change, you anchor the harmony and also the melody. The listener hears the chords. The time locks in. Your solo has the framework. And here is the deeper truth. The Russell Malone said it the best. When you improvise, if you go too far away from the original melody, he says, you take your own journey. You want to go to your own journey, but you have to bring your audience with you. But you risk leaving the audience behind if you are going too far away from the melody. We have to keep the balance. Your solo needs to keep telling the audience that this is still the song, and you maintain that by keeping the original melody inside of your solo. That is the third target, because even the melody is most times the third, or the chord changes, you can make it present inside your improvisation. So the approach is this: melody, third target, and then back to the melody, or make it your own way in between. Let me show you. So in this case, the melody is the third. So let's see how melody is moving around it, and then we just use it but apply it in differently. Okay? So the tune goes the third root, fifth to next third. Right? This is good enough. So it goes down to the next target. Now what I did, this root I played, right? And also in between the roots. So I am using the melody notes in my own way. I never lost the song. I went out, target the third, added movement, and came back. That is the difference between a solo that sounds like the song and one that sounds like scales over the song. Now you have the framework, you know where the thirds are. But here is the next question. how do I actually travel between those targets? Because hitting the third and stopping is not music. That is a map without roads. So, what fills the road? The two lines, the West line and the Django line. And here is where the history connects one more time. The West line lives on tonic function, and then the Django line lives in the non-tonic function. Once you set the West line on the one function, and then the other line should go to the other function. So West line could be the tonic or either non-tonic, then the Django line should go to the other choices. Now apply this to the tune, the West line and the Django line. The B flat major triad is over here, and the West line is in the next chord, the C minor 7, but E flat major triad is the backbone of the Django line. So, or over here. So, this West line and this Django line. And we will go back and forth and targeting the third, the melody on this tune. Look at this. Right? One more time. I start from the melody and then it goes to the root note. It targets naturally to the next melody, right? So the decision is simple, tonic or non-tonic. That is the only question. And once you hear the function, your hands know which shape to use. Here is what I see all the time. A player learns both lines, they practice them, and then they freeze the moment the chord changes. Happen in real time. Why? Because they learn the shapes, but they never connect them to function. They never connected them to where the melody is going. Most content about Wes Montgomery will show you what he played, every note transcribed, but that does not help you because the real question is not what did he play, it is why did he play there. And the answer is always the same, because the melody told him to, because the function told him which shape to use, because the third was the target and the line was just the path to get there. This is exactly what Morricone understood. This is exactly what Bach understood also. This is what your jazz guitar teacher skipped. So, 3 steps, that is all. Step 1, find the third. G minor third, C minor third, F7 third, B flat third, which is, most times, it is the melody. Hear them know where they sit on the fretboard. Step 2. Play the melody. Notice where it naturally lands on or near those thirds. Step 3. On a tonic chord, choose either Wes line or the Django line, and then on the other function, the non-tonic, you should go the counterpart. Nothing else yet. No decoration, no extra notes, just the target. When that is locked in, when you can feel the third before you play it, the solo takes care of itself. So Ennio Morricone wrote this song with triads. He targeted the third. He moved the bass in fifth. And that is the blueprint for the improvisation. Your jazz guitar teacher just maybe forgot to mention it. The dots were always there. We just need to connect them. If you'd like to connect more dots in jazz guitar history, please visit my website and register for Essential Building Blocks. That is 2 hours of lecture about what I just talked about, the Wes line and the Django line, shared voicing, targeting the third, triad cycle, with the 28 pages of free PDF. You just need to register. It is all free. And once you finish that building blocks, please turn the scorecard. Then I will guide you directly to the next step. I will see you in the next one. Until that time, keep swinging.